Casual magic is about how we find beauty in the mundane every day. We all look forward to the 1% of days in our lives that are extraordinary, like the birthday, the wedding, the job promotion. But 99% of days in our lives are just ordinary. And wouldn't it be sad if we only chose to experience that joy 1% of the time? Casual magic is a tool for training your brain to find happiness in the little joys of every single day, finding all the things that are casually magic. Hi everyone, my name is Jade and welcome to another episode of Finding Your Casual Magic. Today, we have the tandem episode to last week's, which was all about the pressure to do and be everything in your 20s. And as you know, this podcast works in an alternating fashion where I first explore a topic alone, and then I bring in a guest who is an expert on this theme just to kind of dig into it a bit further. And today I'm going to be interviewing someone who absolutely embodies seizing this chapter of life. Do you know what allows us to have the inner space to focus on casual magic in our days? Through making sure that we also sort out the practical stuff in our lives too. Maddie Borge is the best example of this. She's a Norwegian creator, now based in London for the last few years since university, who has been creating content online for almost 10 years. In the last few years, she's seen huge success creating relatable lifestyle content as she navigates everything from studying for university exams, to flat hunting, to taking herself on inspiring solo adventures. But what particularly inspires me is her radical candor. Maddie is more than willing to let us into a topic that a lot of us keep secret, and that is our finances. She candidly shows us how she budgets, how much she earned from a viral YouTube short, her plans for saving for a flat in London, and how she created her dream renter-friendly home on a budget. She is such an empowering force for young women wishing to take control of their finances, daring to take that solo trip, and reminding us to not only dream big, but actually make it happen with practical tools. In today's episode, we're going to dig into everything from the pressure we face to do and be everything in our 20s, how we can better prioritize our time and energy around our goals, Maddie's best financial advice that she wishes everyone in their 20s knew, and what brings her authentic daily joy. From cultivating a sense of home to maintaining her sense of independence in romantic relationships. And I really hope that this episode gives you both practical nuggets to be a financial queen, but also inspires you from a deeper place to know that none of us have it all figured out. There is no one right way to live your 20s, and all we can keep doing is leaning into the path that feels best for us. So, without further ado, hi Maddie!
Hi!
Hello! Welcome to Finding Your Casual Magic.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. And I just know, I can already feel there's so many rich insights that are going to come out of this conversation. But we have a tradition at the start of every episode of Finding Your Casual Magic where I really invite you to just be here and just ground yourself. And I like to invite the listener to maybe turn on Do Not Disturb or put on airplane mode and just kind of just allow the rest of the world to kind of fade away as you join us in this conversation. And I always find that I get a lot more out of long form content when I decide to be present with it. So in that vein, I love to start with a 60 to 90 second meditation where you can just really take a second to be mindful, to recognize where you are in space, and hopefully come back with a little bit more clarity. So if you're willing to meditate with us, Maddie.
Of course.
Yay.
I would love to.
Okay.
That sounds amazing.
Take a second to notice where you are in space. Are you in a room? How big is the room? Are you outside? What can you see? And if you feel comfortable to do so, gently close your eyes. Start to become aware of your breathing. Maybe notice where you can feel the breath in your body, noticing the rise of your chest and belly at the inhale and fall on the exhale. Imagine yourself rooting down into the ground, feeling grounded and aware. Notice if you're carrying tension anywhere in your body. If you can, try to allow that tension to release as you exhale. We're going to do a final 4, 6, 8 breath, where you'll take a deep inhale for 4, hold it for 6, and then exhale for 8. So when you're ready, deep inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold at the top for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and big exhale through your mouth for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And when you're ready, you can gently open your eyes. Welcome to the episode. Okay, Maddie. So something that we discussed in last week's episode is how much pressure it feels like there is in our 20s to just be and do a million things.
Yeah.
Like you go on social media and someone's doing their PhD, but someone's also buying their dream house and someone's living abroad, but someone's like in their hometown with their family. And it just feels like it's overwhelming, this decision fatigue of what you feel like you should be doing.
Definitely.
Yeah, when you think about your 20s or 20s in general, what are some of the pressures that come to mind?
Oh my God, everything. I feel like, my whole life has been leading up to my 20s. It's been like so pre-planned, like you go to high school, then you go to uni, then you're supposed to get a job. But like the moment you get into your 20s and you finish uni, you're like, oh my God, what do I do with my life? Because you have all the options in the world. And you can go traveling and you can get a job, and some people are becoming these like millionaire entrepreneurs and buying houses, and other people are having kids.
Forbes
They're
30
just, like,
under 30.
Literally, and you're just like, I'm that age, what have I got going on in my life? What am I doing with my life? Am I doing the right things for me? Am I at the right stage? I feel like it's funny because like we all do this. We all compare ourselves, but like, especially when you get into your 20s, it's like much easier to compare yourself almost because everyone who like tends to like achieve all these big things, yeah, exactly, as you said, Forbes 30 under 30, or like athletes or like actors, I'm like, wait, they're my age. They're 23. They're 24. Oh my God, this guy just won the Olympics. He's 23. What have I done?
Yeah,
it's
like,
so
I can't even
difficult.
run a 5K.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's really hard to keep reminding yourself that like you are in the right place for what you want out of life, but it can be difficult where everyone on social media and on the media and all around is doing different things and following their own timelines and doing things from themselves, to know that like you're in the right place and to know that you're following your own timeline, and keep reminding yourself of that, I guess.
100%.
Yeah.
And for context, how old are you?
I'm 23. I'm turning 24.
Oh, when's your birthday?
18th of October.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
so soon.
very soon, very
I
soon.
think that probably will have passed.
Oh my God, yeah.
So you'll be 24.
Yes.
I'm 24 too.
Yes.
What kind of pressures out of the ones you've listed do you feel you personally resonate with?
I think the career thing is quite stressful, especially in like our career as content creators. I think there's so many people who are doing these insane things when they are our age and when they're even younger.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people in entertainment can relate to this. And I find it funny that we're in this industry, which is entertainment, but we are as content creators, and a lot of people do incredible things by the time they're 23. And that can be quite difficult sometimes for me to like understand. And like, even though like for my own personal career, I do find, or I think that I've had a great amount of success and I'm so proud of everything I've achieved and done. But still, you look around and you're like, oh my God, but this person is doing amazing, and this person has a brand, and this person's bought a house, and I'm here. I'm still saving for my first flat. I'm still renting. Like, it can be quite hard to like understand that, but still understand that like, and still remind myself that I am incredibly happy. Like, I'm doing this as a career. Like, this is what I've always dreamt of, and that like the whole, like I didn't know my career that I currently have was ever possible, but now I'm living in it. You look around, you're like, oh, but this person is 23 and they're in a Hollywood blockbuster, and imagine if I was doing that, like
endless
you look
potential
around
for comparison.
Exactly. I think that could be really difficult. And I know I have corporate friends who also work in corporate jobs. And, you look around, they look around and they're like, oh, but this person went to a better uni and now they're like 3 years ahead of me, even though, because I started out at this worst uni and now I have to like compete with them and it's hard and they're earning more money and I'm not there. And it's just like, you're just always comparing yourself, I find, whatever you're doing, and you feel like
never enough.
Exactly. And you feel like you're behind, but like you have to realize everyone is in their own timelines. But even I struggle with that. And I think it could be so difficult. And like, as I said, I'm saving for a house, but I see people. I met a girl the other day who was like, I just bought my house. I'm 24. And I'm like, okay.
And you have this sense of like, oh my God, well done. Like, that's so amazing for you. But also this, it like activates the insecurity.
Damn it, like, am I late? Am I doing things at the right pace? Am I doing well enough? You know, it can be really difficult compared to when you're in high school and the only real measure is like, okay, I'm getting into uni, or like I'm in high school, these are my grades, and this is the sports that I'm doing, versus now in your 20s, it's just so confusing. Yeah. And then you have other things as well, like you're focusing on your career, but then people are excelling in marathons, and you're not prioritizing marathons, and then you're just suddenly so envious of these people doing, and you're like, oh my God, I can't run 5 kilometers.
Be honest with me, are you going to be entering a runner era soon?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm not a runner. I wish I could run long distances, but I can absolutely not. So yeah.
When you were in high school looking towards your 20s, did you have specific expectations of what you'd be doing or how those 20s would look?
It's really funny because my whole life, I feel like, I think this is part of me being the eldest daughter in my family, but my whole childhood from like middle school or like even primary school, I always knew what I would do in the next 3 years. Like I knew that I would go to middle school. I knew what high school I wanted to get into. I would work from middle school to get into that high school. And then when I was in high school, I knew what uni I wanted to go to. But it's funny, but I never planned my after uni life.
Wow.
I never had any.
Relatable.
Yeah. Because like you have all these plans, and the moment you graduate uni, you're like, oh, I didn't really plan for this. I guess I would just get a job then. Yeah. Like, what do I do?
Yeah. Because everything's so linear while you're at school.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And it's like you kind of know the next stepping stone, and your only job is to do well at that one stepping stone. Yeah. And then after you graduate, it's just like the grandness of life opens up, and that's so terrifying.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'd love to also speak to this eldest daughter
thing
because I relate.
Yes, good. We love to hear it.
I feel like we have quite similar coded personalities in that we're both the eldest daughter, both quite ambitious growing up, kind of hustly, high achiever type mindset. And I'd love to hear maybe firstly how you personally define this eldest daughter syndrome that's spoken about online, and kind of what that means to you.
I think it's about when you're the oldest daughter, you kind of have to set an example for your younger siblings, but also take a lot of responsibility. And you're almost treated in this way where you're like just supposed to know what you're doing all the time. So it's those 3 things, and you kind of like live your life based on that. Like you're very like, you like authority, like you appreciate like teachers and parents, and like you're very like, okay, I will do as you say. Very rule following. And you're like, okay, you're the authority, you know what you're doing. I'm just gonna follow what you're saying, basically. But then you're also you end up being, as you said, like you like to plan out your life, and you like to set ambitious goals for yourself, and you like to be a planner almost. And I think I'm a planner in a very wide array of my life. A lot of
that's what we'll get into.
Yeah. But I think that also is part of the eldest daughter, because you just like, your family is dealing with younger siblings, and you just kind of have to figure out your life for yourselves, and they're there to help you, but like you're the oldest, so you kind of have to figure it out for everyone else, and then you can help them. Like I'm in the process right now of helping my cousins get into uni. Wow. You know, because I was the oldest of all the cousins and everything, and it was just
And who was helping you?
Yeah, it was
me. Yeah, exactly. We love being the guinea pig.
Yeah,
and
like, that's kind of how you feel like. Yeah, the independence. Yeah,
I think for me, this kind of like ability to always want to plan everything and you know, wanting to be really ambitious and kind of and having all these stepping stones mapped out and wanting to be good at them, I think that exacerbated the struggles of then coming into my 20s and coming into the grandeur of adult life, because there is so much openness and there's so much that you could be doing, and it's not as simple as when you're at school and you have the things to reach for and achieve.
Exactly. Like it's a much more simple map to follow kind of, and just know where you're going, versus when you end up in your 20s, you're like, oh, where do I go from here?
How do you think 16-year-old Maddie would feel looking at your life now, or looking at the way that you've spent the last few years?
I think she would be very proud. I think she would have loved this career also, because when I was 16, I think it was at that point I had started YouTube and doing social media essentially for 2 years. And
talk to me about your YouTube journey.
So basically I started my YouTube when I was like 13, 14. So I'm 23 now. So I've been doing it for around 10 years, which is crazy.
Which is crazy.
It is crazy.
You're like the real OG.
I mean, yeah, maybe, I don't know. But I followed my own OGs like Bethany Mode to Steal the Paper 9. So I started out on YouTube because I loved watching those YouTubers, and I just wanted to recreate what they were doing essentially. So when I was 16, I think I've been doing YouTube for 2 years-ish. And I just started picking up some momentum. I was doing like some cleaning videos and they were doing really well of me cleaning my room. But I never envisioned YouTube as a career, probably because when I was starting out, it wasn't a career for anyone. It was like this thing where people could earn a little bit of money if they did brand deals on the side, but it wasn't like a sustainable career choice. And in the past 10 years, social media creators have gone from like a hobby to like a real job that hundreds of thousands of people have. Like, it's insane. But it wasn't like that 10 years ago. And so when I went into it, I just had a big passion for making videos. And if 16-year-old me would have seen me now, she would have been like, you have this as your job? That's insane. That's insane. So yeah, that's been my journey, I guess.
Yeah. And so to clarify for everyone listening, you're full-time social media.
I am. Yeah.
Self-employed girly.
Yes.
Woo!
Self-employed.
Yeah. And maybe what were your expectations of going into this self-employed life like versus the reality of it?
I don't know. This is the funny thing about like me being a planner my whole life, and then entering my 20s and graduating uni, I was just like, YOLO. Like, let's see what happens. And that was literally what I went into this social media full-time self-employed situation being like. I was like, let's just see what happens. I don't know. Let's be spontaneous for a second here. Basically what happened and how I ended up doing social media full-time is I did uni, and my third year I was doing social media next to uni, and I was making some money doing it. And I was like, you know what? I want a gap year after uni. I'm exhausted from uni. I want to take a little break, and I probably want to do my master's after. Let's try to like do a gap year and do some social media and see what happens while I travel and work doing social media, and just like see what happens basically. And I did that for a year, and I did some traveling around Asia, and I made videos throughout the whole year, posted weekly and on short form platforms like TikTok and Instagram as well. The consistency was there compared to my uni days, and it ended up working out really well. And I was like, oh, I kind of like this. Maybe I should try this for another year. And then I did it for another year. And here we are now in my third year of being self-employed, which is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy.
Honestly, it is amazing what you've built out. Yeah. And one of the main things that you talk about online, or maybe not the main thing, but something that you've been very vocal about, which I know that a lot of people have been grateful about, is finances.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you maybe talk to me a bit about why you started posting about that? Because also you studied business.
I did.
Right?
Management. Yeah. Business management at King's in London. I've always been very interested in finances and business and that whole side of things. But what I found, and I love YouTube. I grew up on YouTube. I watched so much YouTube. But whenever I would source information or even like inspiration to like invest or save or anything, I would watch these finance bros on YouTube, you know, like it's such a like male dominated space, the finance world on YouTube and on social media in general. It has gotten a lot better in the past months and years, definitely, but it's still very male dominated with like finance bros saying, you should save, you should invest, here's my Porsche. And I'm like, I don't care about that. Like, I just want to know,
and
like,
let me mansplain a bunch of words that you don't know and make them sound way more complicated than they need to be.
I just want to learn like about the S&P 500, you know, and like how to use a Roth IRA in the US or an S&P 500 and a lot
of it's US focused.
It is
well,
a lot,
it's
very US focused. That's basically why I started posting about my finances online, because I was like, there's only men doing this. I don't think that's very helpful, and I do want to be.
Went away. You learned a lot in your free time, and you were like, I want to be someone to say this in a way that no one is online.
Exactly, and I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not saying that I am in any such a way, but I do think that a lot of people don't. Like me in the beginning, I didn't know where to get any of this information. So someone needs to be the person who tells people, like, by the way, have you heard of an ISA account? Have you heard of a Roth IRA if you're in the US? I wanted to be that person because there was only males doing that in the space where I was researching and watching videos. And I wanted to be the female version who said, like, by the way, have you heard of this? Maybe you should check it out. Maybe you should check out an emergency fund if you haven't heard of it. I'm not going to be the one telling you to buy certain stocks or anything. Other people can do that who are equipped for that situation. But I do want to be the person who's like, you know, you should do this in case you haven't looked into it, and you can do more research if you want to. But yeah, essentially.
And I think what's really unique about the way that you do it is you are primarily a lifestyle creator.
Yes.
And you're both relatable but also aspirational. And so I think the way that you share financial advice is coming from this lens of, hey, here's how I'm doing it in my own life, and maybe I can inspire you
Exactly, that's
to
the whole
also
point.
do the same. And it's so approachable, because it feels like, oh, you're my friend Maddie, who's just a little bit further along this journey than I am.
And that's exactly what I want to be as well. And that's how I hope I can help someone, almost by being their older sister, oldest daughter.
It all comes back to being
it all comes back.
Let me help you, child.
No, but joking. But yeah, I do want to be, because there was no one, again, for me who was like that. I didn't have an older sibling being like, have you heard of a Roth IRA? Have you heard of an ISA account? So I want to be that person for someone and feel like that, that oldest daughter, oldest sibling who could just help you out, kind of. So that was where it came from. Yeah,
amazing. I would love to demonstrate some of this eldest daughter vibe and maybe ask you some questions about finance for our listeners, if that's all right. Yeah, maybe if you could start with 3 main pieces of advice that you would give someone in their 20s financially.
Okay, number one, everyone, ready? Emergency fund.
Dun, dun, dun.
Please don't do the same mistakes that I've done. About a year and a half ago, me and my boyfriend got unexpectedly kicked out of our flat, and we had 0 savings for this kind of emergency. And what ended up happening was that we basically bankrupted ourselves during that whole month where we had to move, because we had to hire a moving company, we had to buy new furniture, we had to pay out of pocket for a new deposit. And we weren't planning on moving, so we hadn't saved up for any of this. So we had to basically be skint that entire month and manage barely to get through. And I don't know what would have happened if we ended up with a more expensive flat, or if we didn't end up finding a flat at all. We were very lucky. It ended up working out somewhat, but it was not a comfortable position. We were very, very, very anxious the entire time because of the money problem, because it costs a lot of money to move. And this is an emergency, and there's several emergencies that you can come over and that can happen to you when you're in your 20s, in your 30s, that you just don't expect, but suddenly they happen and they cost money and you have to just deal with it. So an emergency fund is essentially, you save up around 3 to 4, some people say even 6 months of set expenses. You have that in an account, a high yield savings account, which you don't touch, you just leave it be.
What's a high yield savings account?
Oh, thank you for asking. A high yield savings account is essentially an account that pays you higher interest than your regular interest. Interest is the money your bank pays you for keeping your money in the bank, essentially. So every year, every account that you have in your bank probably has some kind of interest, but a regular savings account, or just a regular checking account for that sake, pays you 0.8% interest every year. So if you have £1,000 in an account and the account you have has 1%, it means you earn £10 money every single year. However, if you had a high yield savings account with 5% interest, you would earn £50 every year, not 10. And when it comes to, this is getting a bit advanced, but basically when it comes to compounding and money every single year increasing and increasing, and this is very basic math, but it's very hard to explain right now. Trying to explain, but basically, the more interest you have, the more it'll compound, the more it'll grow. It's just better. So keep your emergency fund in a high yield savings account, because that will earn you more money than if you had it in your regular savings account. But also keep it out of sight, because an emergency savings account is not to use for fashion emergencies or, any other I kind of want takeaway. It's for emergencies like we've just been through, getting kicked out of a flat, or, your car breaking down, or similar things to that just, really suck and they cost substantial amounts of money. I also heard other people say they can be used in other situations, you just got fired off your job. What do? You have to pay your rent. What do? It can help you get through those situations. Whereas if you didn't have that, you would probably have to immediately find a new job and accept whatever job offer comes first. Versus if you had that substantial emergency savings fund, you could maybe wait a little and take that time and take those 3 months and go through your emergency fund and get that better job.
Mental peace.
Exactly. It gives you that mental peace. It gives you that you make sure you don't have to go through that anxiety that comes with those big expenses that can happen in case of emergencies. And I've gone through it, and you've gone through it, and you know how much it sucks, and it sucks even more when you don't have the money to 100%. Get through it, and you're just oh my god, what do I do, basically? So
that is an amazing piece of advice.
That was a long one, but
no, I think I'm glad we started there.
Yeah,
because that feels like That feels like the one that has the most friction to doing.
Exactly.
Because you don't see the immediate reward.
Exactly.
And
but
with a lot of
so
financial
smart.
advice, right, we want to think about how we make more money.
Yeah.
But this is actually thinking,
Yeah.
how can I save for something that hasn't even happened yet?
Yeah.
Like, it's so tempting not to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I love that we started there because that is
Exactly.
important. These things do
so,
happen.
And we've both been through it.
I know.
So we both know how important it is. But if you haven't gone through it, you don't understand. But I have gone through it and I understand why. I will always have my emergency fund. Second tips for your finances when you're in your 20s. That would be start saving as soon as possible. And a fun thing to know, or for most people, this will be the case. Your 20s, your early 20s will be the point of time where you have the lowest salary you'll ever have for most people. You start out in your job, you have a graduate salary. You will never have as low of a salary as you have in your early 20s. So if you can practice saving when you're in your early 20s, that's going to set you up for the rest of your life. If you can find money in your budget when you have the lowest salary you'll ever have to save, you're always going to save. And I think...
So it's more of a mindset you're trying to cultivate.
And just the practice of saving and finding room in your budget when you don't have a lot, it's so good because there's this thing called lifestyle inflation, and the more money you earn, the more you spend, right? That's for most people, that's the case. And it's crazy, but it's true. The more you earn, the more you spend, and you end up just never having room in your budget for anything other than your lifestyle.
Like if I've got a promotion, I'm going to get a nicer flat. All of a sudden my rent is higher.
Exactly. So if you can get used to saving from the moment you start earning, even though that's very little and it probably won't have any effect, doesn't matter because you'll have that built-in mindset of I'm always going to save X amount of my salary. And when you go up in salary, you're like, oh, I have more money. I'm going to put more into my savings.
Yes.
So that's,
now when you say
important.
Start saving.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Start saving. I mean, you probably have saving goals. So, I mean, the first thing you would probably save for is your emergency fund. And any financial advisor can go through the list. There's plenty of really good YouTubers who can talk about this who are qualified. But for me personally, the first thing I saved for was my emergency fund. And then the second thing I started saving for was my priority at the time, which was buying a house. And that's still what I save for. I also have an ISA, which I save in both to buy a house, but also for just like future savings. Like I have investments and stuff.
I also have an ISA.
Yay! Good for you, as you should.
Do you want to tell us what is an ISA?
So an ISA, let's go. Let's just extract my brain from all of those jokes. So an ISA is a tax-free savings account where you can save up to £20,000 a year. They haven't raised the bar yet, but I think they maybe will. We don't know. We'll see what the government does.
Watch this space.
Yeah, woo. But yeah, you can basically save up to £20,000 tax-free in the UK. So that means you can split that between, for example, a cash ISA, which is basically like a savings account. You can split that between your stocks and shares ISA, where you can save and invest in funds and stocks and that kind of thing. There's also a LISA, which can help you buy a house, but it has some limitations, which is unfortunate for those who want to buy in London because the cap is very low. You can only buy for £450,000. You can read like a lot more about this if you just Google a little bit, but that's an ISA essentially. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
And the third thing I think I would just give to any 20-year-old as financial advice, which is be like, understand the importance of compounding and why it's so important you start saving and investing early. I save and invest. I save for a house and I also invest some money. I currently am really in the process of saving for a house. I'm prioritizing my savings for a house.
Woo!
Yay! We'll see when that happens. But I'm in the process of saving. That is my goal. I've set that as my goal for myself. But basically, back to compounding. Compounding is essentially what happens when the accrued interest that we talked about earlier.
So just to recap, interest.
Interest.
That is when I put my money somewhere.
Yeah.
The bank or wherever I put it, they're going to give me a little bit extra money, a little percentage extra my money, just for keeping it there. I don't have to do anything.
Exactly.
Interest is giving me free money.
Exactly. So I like need a calculator to like do these like examples. I feel like I'm not going to do them here, but like basically, again, if you have £1,000 in the bank in your high interest savings account that gives you 5% each year, the next year you'll have 1,050. The next year you'll earn 5% on the 1,050 you put in, or if you put in more, you would add more on that. So it would be more than the 50 you earned the first year. It would be 50 point something. I'm not going to do the maths because I can't do it in my head, but you get what I'm saying. Compounding is the seventh wonder of the world, and it truly is. But it only
compounding is the seventh wonder of the world.
Yeah, and it truly is. But it needs to work for a long time. Compounding is like a snowball, and if you keep investing and you keep saving from a very early age, from as early as you possibly can, the returns are insane and compounding runs wild. But this will only happen if you do save and invest for a long period of time. For every 20, 30-year-old, 18-year-old, like people who are in their early years still, the earlier you start saving and investing, the better, because the returns will be so much more compared to if you start saving when you're 40 and you have a better salary.
Yes.
You know?
I've heard that this is one of the biggest mistakes people make.
Exactly.
Is because they think that they don't have enough money to save.
Exactly.
They wait until they're 40 or 50 or even opening a pension. Most people don't think about their retirement years until way later.
Yeah.
And so I love that you are advocating for people to think about it now.
Definitely.
Because it's not a sexy topic.
It isn't.
No one wants to look at it. Maybe it's sexy for you. But
I love compounding. What are you saying?
Seventh wonder of the world, guys.
What do you mean?
Yeah, I love that. Look at it now.
Yeah. And there's even like fun calculators. I mean, this is fun for me. I don't know if it's fun for anyone else, but there's like fun calculators you can look at that, like, if you saved for 40 years compared to 50 years, let's say if you want to retire when you're 70, we're 20 now, so that would be 70 years. Let's say we started saving when we were 20 compared to 30, and you invested £100 every month or £500 every month. The difference is insane. It's like millions of pounds just from like you investing, or like hundreds of thousands of pounds depending on how much money you put in. But the difference is insane compared to how early you start. Just 10 years makes like the biggest difference. And also, even if you put in more money when you started later, you will still have less money. It's just crazy. Like, it's crazy. Use the calculators, figure it out, and just you'll be blown away, and you'll start saving and investing early, because you should, and compounding is insane. Learn about compounding, guys.
I love it. Yeah, no, that I feel like I already know about it, but I want to go and read more. Like, I want to go save more after this. That, so I hope anyone who's listening, who's maybe a little bit scared about finances, knows that they should do it, but hasn't got around to it. I hope this inspires you to do that little Google search. You know, what is compounding? What is an ISA? How do I get started? Okay, so on the topic of saving, I think this is a certain time in the economy where that can feel like quite a scary concept, right? Cost of living crisis, inflation, a lot of young people just not having as much disposable income, struggling to pay for their basic necessities, not even thinking about saving up for luxuries, and then definitely not thinking about practicalities of things like a pension. What kind of advice would you give to someone who's trying to find this balance of both saving but also living life now and enjoying life now? Because I think that is a balance that you are quite good at striking.
Yeah, I think it's super difficult. I mean, especially when you're in your early 20s, as we talked about, and you're just starting out, and you are at your lowest salary you will ever earn, and you're just like, I want to do this, and I would also live my life and be in my 20s and do all the things that people on social media are doing, and I totally get it. I think if you're thinking about, if your main thing that you want to do is save, and you're really passionate about it, I would say, look through your budget. Like, look through absolutely everything you have in your monthly expenses. Like, write down, I do this occasionally when I want to like go through my expenses to see actually what I spend my money on, because it can be quite confusing, because sometimes you're like, I have all this money coming in, I'm like, I have no idea where it goes out on. So look through all your expenses, look through every single thing you spend your money on, and find out, okay, how comfortable, how much value does this exact thing that I spent money on give me? How much value to my life is these subscriptions that I'm subscribed to give me? And then look through everything, and then, you know, do a little analysis and think to yourself, like, okay, do I want to keep doing this? Do I want to keep doing this? Do I want to cut down here? Do I want to keep this here? And then whatever you cut down, you can put into your savings, or you can put elsewhere where it gives you more value. But I think just like getting used to the habit of looking through your expenses and looking to your expenditure can be really good, because that is something that when I first moved out of the house with my parents and I was living on my own, I had no idea what I was spending. And I was spending on these crazy things, and I didn't know what was going out of my bank account. And then I looked through it and I was like, oh my God.
Why am I subscribed to that?
Yeah, exactly. And like, this is giving me nothing. Like, this is giving me no like happiness.
Like, when was the last time I read this newspaper?
Exactly. So it's good to look through, and then you can also find opportunities for you to save more if that's something you're willing to do. And yeah, see what gives you happiness, what gives you joy, like Marie Kondo says, and what doesn't give you joy, essentially.
And something else that I love that you share is you're often doing things that are free, right?
Yeah.
And you're finding joy in a sunrise.
Oh, 100%.
Like, on the whole thing of casual magic, you know, I think you're very good at that. You create these little adventures for yourself that don't necessarily cost money, but you still derive a lot of joy from.
No, exactly. Yeah, I mean, and even like wherever you're living, I live in London, London is supposed to be this incredibly expensive city, and it is to live in and everything, but like there's so many free, beautiful, magical things you can do here. You just have to think a little bit outside the box. My favorite things to do would be like watching the sunset in Primrose Hill. That's completely free.
Oh, the best.
It's the best, and it's just so magical, and it's like it's the most magical thing ever, and it's the perfect place to have a date if you want to go on one and like
Ooh.
yeah, just a little tip there. Also, I love to take myself on solo dates in Hyde Park or Regent's Park or St. James's Park. I love to cycle places, and cycling for me is almost like I grew up in Scandinavia. We cycle everywhere, so cycling for me is almost like bringing it back to my childhood and my happy memories cycling, and I can get to cycle around London and just like soak up these like this incredible city that has so much to offer and is so pretty and so gorgeous that I can just soak up all the views while I cycle on my Santander bikes that cost £1.65 for 30 minutes. So there's definitely ways that you can like not necessarily treat yourself, but like have fun, enjoy the city, enjoy your 20s, and that way take yourself on solo dates and not have it cost you a fortune. Definitely.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And maybe as a last question to round off this finance section, if someone is listening to this, understandably overwhelmed by maybe how much they're spending, they're too scared to look at their bank account because they know that they're overspending, right? And it's just like a scary topic for a lot of people. What advice would you give to maybe ease the feeling side of money? How do you get someone inspired to start when the whole topic just brings them anxiety?
But this is so normal, by the way. Like literally, I mean, I was like this. Everyone is like this. My boyfriend was like this. He works in finance.
I don't want to open that banking app.
No, but like literally all my friends, my boyfriend, me, like everyone is like this. It is totally fine. It's like a hump that you need to overcome, and that's fine. And I think just like slowly starting, and it doesn't matter if you have zero savings or zero investments, everyone has to start somewhere. And I was fortunate that I had this random passion for finance when I was 18, and I was like, whoa, I should read all these finance books, but like that was completely random, and I could have not been in that position and still like was struggling with my finances now. So whatever situation you come from, just know that like it's completely fine. We're all in our like separate time zones is not the word I was looking for, but timelines, yeah. And I would just say like start slowly. Like again, look at what you've spent your money on in the past month. Write down a little Excel spreadsheet. What have I spent on subscriptions?
Freak in the sheets.
Yes. Oh my god. I love that. Yeah.
I'm like, we've got to make Excel feel a little bit more exciting.
Oh my god. Okay.
You were not expecting.
Back to the point. Just write down everything you spend your money on and like work it out from there. Like start slow and just the more you like think about it, the more you talk about it with your partner if you're living with a partner, or even with your friends, like just the more you talk about it and like think about it, the more comfortable you will get. It's a slow process, but like eventually you'll get there. So don't stress about it too much. I mean, I know I have a lot of knowledge certainly about this finance topics and all that, but I've also like I've had like the past 5 years it's been a massive interest of mine, and so don't think that like I like this is just how I mean I'm super interested in finances, like yeah, it's not weird. No, so don't think that that's completely normal. Like everyone has to build their way up to certain like interests and levels of understanding, so don't worry that much. Just start somewhere, build your way up, and yeah, you'll feel better about it.
Amazing. Thank you so much. But you don't just make content about finance.
That is true.
One of the things that you are also so well known for is your home, your incredible DIY projects, your like renter-friendly, budget-friendly ways of making your home into this gorgeous, cozy space that reflects who you are and your sense of self. Yeah. Honestly, you've inspired me so much.
Thank you.
I've never been interested in interior design in my life. I've always found it stressful. But watching your content makes me want to make an effort in my home.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I'd love to hear from you. What does home mean to you?
Home is so important to me. I think home is probably one of the most important things to me in my like day to day. I just love being at home. I love my home feeling like feeling like home, feeling like a space that I belong and that I'm happy to be in, feeling cozy. I love to host people. I love to like have them over and make sure they're feeling cozy in my home. So home is something that is very, very important to me. And I know even from like uni, when I was living in my dorm, I would like personalize my dorm to make it feel like cozy and like home. And it's just, yeah, I love for my space to feel like me, to feel like where I belong. And yeah, it's very important in that way.
Yeah, amazing. And why did you first start making content about your home?
I think I've always had, weirdly enough, finances and home is a very strange mix of things to like have weird interest in, I guess. But I just always like loved decorating, and I loved decorating my room when I was growing up. I loved cleaning it because that's what I made my videos about back in the day. I love just like making it feel cozy and cute and like me, and like almost like represent myself through the objects that I would put in my home and in my room. And I guess I just kept at it. And even though I never had, I mean, when I was a teenager, I didn't have a lot of money to spend on my home, but I would always DIY stuff and make it cute. And I would paint myself paintings, even though I wasn't a great artist. But I would do it
Cool.
anyway because I wanted to feel like me and feel like, you know,
Yeah.
the Pinterest board that I'd set up for myself and all that. And when I moved into my own flat, I was still didn't have this massive budget to spend. I mean, who has in their early 20s
Yeah.
when they're moving into their first flat? But I still wanted to feel like me. So I would like curate, like I would pick out some free things from Gumtree and some like secondhand things from Gumtree and Facebook Marketplace. And I would put that in my home. And then I would make some custom things with painting, or I would paint furniture. I would go to IKEA and buy a dresser and paint it blue because I'm Scandi and we love pastels. So
Honestly, it's so impressive the effort you put into your DIY projects.
thank you.
Like, no, it's amazing. Maddie will be like, okay, here's my Pinterest board, here's my vision
Yeah,
of what I
exactly,
ideally
yeah.
want, and it costs like 3K for
Yeah.
this table. And then you go and find a free table and make it look exactly the same
Yeah.
for free.
But you can.
Yeah.
Everyone can. It's not that hard. It's just like, you have to have the idea, you have to have the vision, and then you're just like, okay, how can I make this fit my budget, basically? And yeah, I just have I have a vision for my home. I wanted my home to feel very me, very Scandi, very pastel, very cute, very cozy. Yeah, I didn't have a massive budget to do it, but I found secondhand pieces. I found IKEA pieces. I made them my own, and it all ended up working out in a nice way, I think. And now my home feels a lot like me. So yeah.
And you've been very vocal online about not needing the biggest space either. Like,
Yeah,
I think when
no,
you first moved to
definitely,
London
yeah.
or moved out of uni, you were
Yeah.
in this tiny flat.
Yeah,
I remember
yeah,
seeing it.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember how big this
Yeah,
flat
yeah.
was.
So
but
my first flat, I moved in with my boyfriend. It was in London. It was 34 square meters for 2 people, which is the size of a studio. It was a 1 bed, but the bedroom, we couldn't open the door with the bed in it. So it was like, it was small. It was small, and the bathroom only fit 1 person at a time. So you could only be 1 person, and that
I
was
bet that was a
kinda fun.
bonding flat.
It was. And like, it was, I mean, we had a lot of work from home there because it was like COVID had finished, but there was still like work from
wow.
home.
Yeah.
So like,
So
we would
one's
like,
working from the bathroom. One's
like
in the
one
bed.
person would work from the bed, the other person would work from the living room. Like that was
Okay.
how small it was. Like we couldn't, like if we were in the same room, we would sit on top of each other. So it was tiny, but we made it work because you, to be honest, you don't need a lot of space. And I wouldn't say I'm a minimalist. I think a lot of people in my comment section say I'm very minimalistic, but I don't consider myself a minimalist. I just think if you have a capsule, like a capsule wardrobe, you have a capsule collection of things that you love, you don't need that much. And not saying like I have several things. I wouldn't consider myself a minimalist, but I
You're very
also
intentional.
I would say intentional would be a better word, because I love my little things, and I collect trinkets, and I'm that, but like I also don't have an obsessive amount of things because I don't think I need that many things, and I just thrive in my little cute home with my little items, and I have like these little things, and I'm intentional with the things I purchase. But yeah, I think you can make a small space work for you. And also in a time where flats cost so much money and rent costs so much money and buying costs so much money, you just have to figure out how to live in a smaller space. And I feel like I thrive in a small space. And as long as you can organize it and you can be smart and you can, be intentional with the things you purchase, it's very doable.
And what advice would you give to someone who maybe is living in one of these temporary spaces, maybe like a university,
Cool.
dorm, or a flat that they're only in for a few months,
Yeah.
and they feel like it is just far too much effort to invest in making
Yeah,
it
fair.
a homey? What advice would you give to them? Do you think it's worth putting in that effort? How can they do that easily if it feels like a lot of friction?
Yeah, I mean, very good question. I was living in dorms for 2 years, actually. I had one dorm and then I had another dorm. And in both dorms, I also was at that point where like, I don't want to like make anything permanent. But I think it's, for me at least, it's very important to make a space feel like you and feel cozy. And whenever you enter that room after a long day, you're like, oh, I love being here.
Yeah,
I feel
the
like I'm at
best
home.
feeling. You just
Exactly. You just want to
relax.
cuddle up in your bed and like be happy and be cozy, and you can stay in all day if you want because it's just that cozy. So for me, I think some things you can do, I mean, lights. You can bring a lamp with you anywhere you go. One of my like Christmas requests for my mom one year was like, I just want a lamp. I just want a lamp that I can bring, a portable lamp so I could bring it. And I've had it now in like 4 different flats that I've lived in. Like bring it along. I would also say posters and artwork that you can hang is a good idea. In my first dorm, I had like a poster wall, and that's very like Y2K of me. But I love my poster wall because it was all posters that I found for cheap on Amazon or Etsy or in this like uni space that sold like secondhand posters. Put them up on my wall. It didn't cost much, but it was all posters that represented me in a way.
You have chosen them.
Exactly. So I had my white sheets. It wasn't super like Maddie, but like at least my posters felt like me. And I had my little lamp and I had my books and it felt like me. And every time my friends came over, they were like, oh, this room feels so much like you, Maddie. Like we love it here. It's so cozy. That's some things like posters, lamps, lights. You can have fairy lights if you want. I love a good fairy light. Yeah.
I honestly feel like lights matter so much.
Lights help so much. It just makes it cozy. And I also like a nice rug. A rug is something you can, not a rug, sorry, a blanket. A blanket is something you can bring with you to any flat or to any bedroom. If it's a nice quality blanket that feels like you or feels like home. I have my blanket in my room or in my flat is my Røros tweed blanket from Norway.
Oh.
Yeah, it sounds bougie, but
Say
it's
that again.
Røros tweed.
Oh. I was like, I'd love to try and say that, but I don't know what you just did with your tongue. Oh, wait, say it.
Røros tweed.
Oh, Røros.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good.
Thanks.
Basically, it's like the warmest Norwegian blanket you can find. It's made from like tweed wool from Norway. So it's like the warmest possible blanket you could ever find. It's so nice and comfy and it's very Norwegian. And every time I move flats, I bring it with me and I have it on my sofa all times. And I'm like, anytime people come over, I'm like, it's my Norwegian blanket. A little representation of me.
You mentioned that when you were first kicked out of the flat, that it was quite a low time for you.
Yeah.
And like there was a lot of anxiety around flat hunting again. Were there any lessons or things that you picked up during that time that have now served you as Maddie today?
Yeah, definitely. So when it first happened, I was really struggling to cope. And I think I was telling myself that like I could deal with this on my own. Like the anxiety that I was experiencing, like first of all, like getting kicked out of the flat and going flat hunting again and being anxious about like not having a place to live because, oh my God, London flat hunting is crazy. But also like dealing with the influx of comments and the bad comments and the negativity and all that just like made me really anxious. And I was thinking like, I can deal with this myself. It doesn't matter. But I kept getting more and more anxious and it didn't go away. And for my entire life before this, I'd always dealt with things on my own and like just, managed. But I think at a point I was like, I should probably like get some help dealing with this because my anxiety was not at a good level. And so I decided to start doing therapy for the first time in the summer after I got kicked out of my flat and we just sorted out a new flat. And it was, I mean, the idea to go to therapy was kickstarted by the fact that I'd got kicked out of my flat and I was having a lot of anxiety about it. But it just going to therapy and like dealing with that and dealing with the anxiety that came from that, but also dealing with all the other causes of my anxiety that, spurred up in uni and spurred up in high school and dealing with academic validation and all that stuff. It's just like, it's been so helpful and so great to have someone like help you through difficult times and difficult things and have someone like support you through it in terms of like therapy and not just having to deal with everything yourself, which is what I used to do in the past. And like understanding that it's okay because in the past I was like, no, I can deal with it myself. It doesn't matter. Like whatever.
It doesn't make you weak.
Exactly. It doesn't make you weak. It actually makes you stronger because like honestly, like you get emotionally intelligent at just such a different level. You understand yourself. You understand other people. You understand other people's reactions. Like it's just the best thing.
Yeah, go to therapy.
I couldn't recommend therapy enough. It's been incredible for me. But I never would have gone hadn't it been for this triggering event that basically caused a lot of my anxiety and caused it to be a lot worse. And I probably had anxiety in the past. I definitely did have anxiety in the past, but never this bad. And yeah, that's been really, really good. And currently I'm at such a good stage with my anxiety. This was 1.5 years ago where this event happened. And currently I'm at such a good stage with my anxiety and it would never have gotten this good if it hadn't been for like going to therapy regularly, basically. So yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing because I think especially having discussed earlier this eldest daughter syndrome, this independence, this belief that you really can get through things on your own. Yeah, and
you're used to just dealing with everything on your own and you're independent and you're like, strong girl, whatever.
Exactly. So much of your life relies on you trusting your own ability to sort things out on your own. And so for you to share this, that, it actually makes you stronger.
It does,
to also ask for help.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about home, sense of home, and I'm really intrigued by the fact that you moved in with your boyfriend at quite a young age.
Yes.
And congrats, by the way.
Thank you.
Congrats for having a healthy relationship. Yay. No, but it's interesting because online I've read a lot of books like The Defining Decade. And I've seen a lot of mixed opinions about moving in with a partner so young.
Yeah.
And kind of like the fears that might come with that of like, I don't know, just issues that could come up in the relationship and how it's linked to your home. And it feels like you have found a way of maintaining your independence so well while also living with a partner. And I'd be really interested to hear your experience of how it's been and how you maintain that independence.
Nice. Yeah. So first of all, I do want to say that I think, like, funnily enough, the fact that cities have become so expensive is leading a lot of people to move in with their partners quite early. Like, I know so many people who are like, 1 year into dating, well, let's move in together. Nothing wrong about that. It's just like the cause of it is like rent is
practical.
So it's the most practical thing, and I get it. Like that was definitely one of the reasons me and my boyfriend decided to move in together, was like rent is ridiculously expensive.
Even commuting.
Like,
yeah,
literally.
Really
okay, if we don't live together, we'll commute to each other. It takes some hours to get to each other. You know, like it was that kind of situation. Also, we wanted to live with each other because we had been together for 2 years at the time and we felt really ready. So we've been living together now for 2 years and 3 months, 4 months. It's been a little while actually, and I do feel like we've managed really well. He works in finance. I'm self-employed, so we have very different jobs, and he works a lot from the office. I work a lot from home. But I feel like we've just managed really well in the way that we live together. We have a really good routine now. I think one of the first things we did, which really helped us, was just like delegating tasks and understanding, both of us understanding that like you doing, like, it doesn't have to be equal in every single way. Like, we don't have to do 50% of the laundry each, and 50% of the cooking, and 50% of the washing. Like, if I do the laundry, you do the cooking. Or you do the dishes, I cook, you do the dishes. Like that kind of vibe, you know?
Yeah.
You wash the bathroom, I do the laundry.
Like we both
I fold your clothes. Exactly.
Yeah.
We both contribute, and we have to feel a fairness in how much we both contribute. But as long as we're happy with that, it doesn't matter. Like, I did the dishes today, so you have to do them tomorrow. You know, because that's I don't think that's
that's kind of like micromanagement.
It is,
of like,
and I
keeping
think
a tally, who's done what.
Exactly. And as long as you can keep it, and the open dialogue as well. Like, if you don't feel like something is fair right now, and I've definitely been vocal about this in the past, like, oh, you know, I bought toilet paper for the last 3 weeks. Can you buy it this week, please?
Yeah.
And then open communication, and then understanding, like, okay, I'll do it this week then.
Yeah.
So having the communication, having the understanding, like, it's not about like the always like, you do this today, I do this tomorrow, but like, yeah, having that. And I think also me and my boyfriend have been together for a long time. It's been 4 years and 4 months. I think something we've both understood, and that's really helped us in the past 4 years, is that like we have a life together, but we also have a life on our own. And, you know, he works in finance. He has his friends from LSC, the school he went to. He has his friends in sports, and he has all of that. And I have my friends. And as much as we love mixing all our friend groups, and I love having him over to my friends, and I love seeing his friends, I also love to be with my friends on my own. And I love to go on my own little girls' trips with my friends and see them and like spend time with them on my own. I don't always have to involve him. And vice versa. I love that he can have people over when I'm traveling. And I love that he can go home to Norway occasionally and just see his friends because he wants to do that. And I can stay here and do my work and be with my friends. And it doesn't always have to be like you have to be totally 100% in each other's lives. And you can also be independent. And I think when I'm exploring my own interests, and I'm doing solo traveling, and I'm seeing new places, and I'm taking myself to read this new book, I don't always have to involve him in everything. And the same with him. He doesn't always have to involve me in absolutely everything. We have a life together, and we have a life separate. And I think this has been really, really helpful in both like growing with each other and growing our own individual persons, I guess we could say. And he has a really big understanding of why I like to do the things I do, and like completely supports me in every possible way of me like doing my interests and trying my interests out. And I have the same for him. Like, he can explore his interests on his own, and he can be with his friends, and we can do things together.
That's so beautiful.
It doesn't have to be mutually exclusive.
Yeah,
you know?
And you can tell each other then about the experiences you're having, and you have stories to share.
Exactly, yeah. And I think it's funny because like we came from, like, we used to do long distance because he was living in Norway and I was living in the UK. And it's funny because long distance is tough. It's like anyone who's gone through long distance, it's really tough. And it's gruesome at times. Like the amount of times I would cry in my bed and I would just miss him and everything. But at the same time, long distance almost taught me to like have a life on my own and be happy and comfortable and so happy with my friends, but also have a life with my boyfriend. And now that we've been together for so long, I still think it's crucial to like be able to have both. And yeah, it doesn't have to be mutually exclusive, essentially. And we both talked about this, and we both agree, like, it can be, in a weird way, like, even though long distance can be absolutely horrible, can also teach you a lot.
I love that. And I think resonates a lot with me as someone who's
Yeah.
in a long distance relationship for a long time,
Yeah.
and kind of it forces you to cultivate that independence.
Exactly.
And something that you're very vocal online about is taking yourself on solo adventures, solo traveling, solo dates. Do you think that also transpired because of being in a long distance relationship, or is that just something you've always loved to do?
Yeah, so it's actually really funny, and I haven't told anyone this, but basically my boyfriend works in finance, which means he works really long hours, and he's always worked in this sphere, and he studied at LSE, so it's always kind of been in the cards. But we used to spend a lot more time together because he'd be in uni and I'd be in uni, and where unis were next to each other, so we would have, as students, you have so much more time, funnily enough, and you have, exactly, than you have when you're working. And I'm self-employed, and my boyfriend went into this kind of like financy job where he has a lot more hours. This week even, he's been working to 11 most days, and he didn't have the weekend off, and it's been absolutely crazy. And I love that he loves his job, and he loves his job more than anything. And it's just like, he loves me as well, obviously, but like he loves his job as well. And I'm so happy for him. And of course, I want him to love his job, and like, I'm not going to take that away from him. And I love my job, and I'm going to like do my job and everything. But I think it's important. It was really important for me this year to find ways to like also be so happy in all the time that I have, not with Theo. And I try to spend all my time that he has out of work with him when I can, obviously. But I also had to find new interests this year to like deal with all that extra time that I would have on my own. And so I remember I talked to my aunt, who also has a husband who works in finance, and she was like, you better get really comfortable being with yourself, because you're going to spend a lot of time with yourself. And I was like, okay, I will try to experiment with that. And I did. And I've been taking myself. I didn't used to be this comfortable being by myself, because I would always fill my time with friends or Theo or my family. But ever since he started working a lot more, and I would, have a lot more time on my own, because I was working, like I am self-employed, so it's just me and my job, and then I can see my friends. Ever since that, I've been really prioritizing, like, okay, learning to be by myself, learning to be comfortable being by myself, learning to do things on my own and not feel sad that anyone's not there. And that's such a great skill to have. And I can't believe I didn't have that skill before. It's so crazy that I always try to involve everyone in all my plans. And I'm just like, if I want to go read a book in the park, I will go read a book in the park. I don't need anyone to be with me. Or if I want to go get a matcha and do shopping, I will go get a matcha and do some shopping.
Amen.
No one needs to go with me.
You're not waiting for anyone. You're not like, oh, literally. Can you come?
And then when Theo's home, I'm like, you know what? I had the funnest day.
Yeah.
I went to go get matcha, and then I went shopping. Do you want to see everything I got? And he'd be like, wow, that's so fun. Yeah, I love that for you, Yeah.
And how did you initially get over this fear of like looking silly, or being stuck in your head, and like the self-judgment that can come from, oh, I'm walking alone and everyone else has friends and everyone else is with people?
Oh my god, it's funny because like now that's not even a thought in my mind, but it was. And I can like literally think back to a time like 6 months ago where it was like this massive thing, and I was like, oh my god,
I'm eating alone in Italy.
Exactly. No, I remember when I was in uni, I was celebrating finishing my exams once, and I don't know where Theo was. I think he was maybe in Norway then. And my friends were all still doing their exams. And I was like, I need to celebrate. I'll go out and get myself a dinner on my own. Never been more like embarrassed, scared, traumatized my entire life ever. I was eating at this restaurant all by myself, and I was like, everyone's looking at me. Everyone thinks I'm crazy. Oh my God, I'm never going to do this again. And now look at me. I'm like always doing stuff on my own.
I open my phone and I'm like, Maddie's off solo again.
Literally. Like I'm so comfortable with it. But yeah, it's literally just practice. And I think I do a lot of solo travel now because I have this very flexible job where I do create content for a living, and I want to see the entire world. And I know my boyfriend has limited annual leave. My friends have limited annual leave. I still want to travel the world and see as much as I can. I will solo travel. And I've gotten to this point now where I really can, but I wasn't like that before. And what has really taught me to like learn to be alone and do these things is like, first start out with small things. Take yourself on a solo date, go grab a matcha on your own and go shopping on your own and try to do that. Then go try read a book in the park on your own. Then maybe go for a dinner alone or a lunch alone and kind of work your way up. Then do a solo day trip on your own. Go to Brighton on your own. Like start doing more and more things alone and build your confidence doing it. In the beginning, it will feel really embarrassing and really weird, and it will feel like everyone's looking at you. But I think the number one thing I learned and I processed that like made me understand that it's okay is that like everyone's just like thinking about themselves.
So true.
And so are
Spotlight
you.
effect.
So are you when you're thinking about like, everyone's looking at me. You're thinking about yourself. And so it's
Yeah.
literally everyone around you. It's all just like, everyone's thinking about what everyone else is thinking about them. But actually, everyone's just thinking about themselves. And the moment you realize, you're like, oh, so it doesn't matter what I
liberating.
do. Yeah. I'm just here minding my own business. I was on my solo trip to Italy recently. And I've come to the point where my mindset has shifted from everyone's looking at me thinking I'm probably weird to they're probably so envious of me right now. Like they're
Honestly,
probably
so
like,
real.
she's on her own eating dinner in Italy. That sounds amazing. I bet they're thinking I'm so cool, you know?
I love that.
Versus I'm so scared. Oh my God, they're also really thinking I'm so weird, you know? It's like the mindset shift is crazy, but the confidence you build just doing more and more things is just wild. So yeah.
Okay, so as someone who, you know, you've kind of cultivated this sense of home within yourself. You're self-employed. You've got a lot of things figured out, even if it doesn't feel like you maybe got them figured out. I feel like you are on the way to having a lot of things in your life feeling more stable. And I can imagine that you're a big inspiration for a lot of people. So I'd love to ask you, if someone is at the start of their 20s and they're looking into this grand decade ahead of them, what advice would you give them?
I think the number one thing, because we're all different, we're all going to pursue different things in life. But I think the number one like thing that we all as 20-year-olds go through is that we're just really confused and we all feel behind in some way. And we're just like, whatever. I think just remember again that we're all in our own timelines, and that for every step you make, that will lead you in the right direction somehow. Because if you end up in a job you hate, you'll realize that you hate that specific career path, and you realize that maybe you should go into something else. So everything teaches you something, and you will find your way no matter what. And even though you feel like you're behind or you're ahead or whatever, it doesn't matter. We're all in our own timelines, and every step you'll take will take you into the direction that you're supposed to end up in somehow. So I think that would be the number one thing. Like, don't worry that much. It'll sort itself out, literally. Because whatever you do, like every decision you make will take you into whatever direction you're like supposed to end up in.
And you will make peace with it.
Exactly. Exactly. Like, don't stress so much. And that was me literally when I came out of uni. I was like, oh, what do I do? Like, what do I end up in? But it'll figure itself out, you know? As long as you make decisions. The decisions will lead you there, basically. So and everyone, it's so funny, but like even the people who always had it figured out, who always were like, I'm going to study this, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, go into their first job and they're like, I don't like this, you know? Or I'm not happy here, you know? Or I like my coworkers, wherever. So we're all figuring it out. So don't stress so much. It's going to be okay. It's going to sort itself out. Whatever you do, like you're going to end up in the place you're supposed to be anyway.
100%. That actually leads me really well onto my next question, which is there anything that you are still trying to figure out? Or like anything. I mean, 100%,
100%. Like I'm self-employed at the minute, but I still don't know if that's what I want to do forever. Like I love my job, and I'm literally like, whenever I go on solo trips and I document them, and I'm just like, is this my job? Like that is absolutely insane. I can't believe it. I'm still like, will I do this forever? I don't know. Will I? I don't know. I'm very happy right now, but will I be happy doing this in 10 years? Will I be doing something completely different? I don't know. And I'm still figuring that out, and I'm still like in the process of like, what will I do? I don't know. Let's see, you know, working things out. So yeah, and I think even for everyone, like everyone's always like, even if people look really set in their role, they're probably still like, oh, should I do this? Should I do that? 100%. Am I happy? Whatever. So yeah.
And the grass is always greener. Like everyone's lives always look so much better. Everyone's struggling in their own ways.
Yeah.
In this phase of your life, what is bringing you joy and contentment?
Oh my God, that is such a good question. But I would say what I've realized this year, and also it's funny because the more I learn to like spend time with myself and be really confident in being with myself and take myself on solo dates and do solo trips and everything, I'm also like really, really falling in love with the relationships I have with both my boyfriend and my friends. Like, I'm just like, I'm so thankful. It's funny because like you take your friends and you take your closest family and your boyfriends for granted sometimes, especially if you've been with them for a long, long time. But I just like really, really changed my perspective this year, and just like I appreciate these close relationships so, so much. And the more it's like the distance makes your heart grow fonder, right? So when you do spend a lot of time alone and you get to reflect on that, you're like, wow, I love my friends. I love my boyfriend. I love my family. And you get to like really like when you're with them, you're like, I take this time.
You savor it.
Yes, you savor this time so much. And I really tried to do that. And I've tried to be better at it this year because it's so easy, especially when you're in uni and you're constantly surrounded by people all the time. And then you go into work and you're constantly with your coworkers instead of your friends, and you don't see your partner that much and you don't see your family that much. You really have to savor that time with those people, and it can be hard to like kind of forget about and just be like, oh, it's just like I have them, whatever. Like, but you really need to savor that time with them. And that's something that I've just been so appreciative of this year. It's just like my friends, my family, my boyfriend. I'm so happy they're in my life. I love them so much.
Oh, shout out.
Yeah. Shout out. I love you guys. Hope you're listening.
I'm sure they are supportive.
Yeah.
There's also this quote or idea that you can only know others as deeply as you know yourself.
Oh, 100%.
And so I wonder as well, in you spending more time with yourself and getting to know yourself more deeply, if that then changes the way that you relate to the people you love.
For me, maybe it's even more about becoming present. Because when you are just with yourself, you have to be present. There's no one else to like, to talk to, or you just have to be present with your own thoughts and your own mind and everything. And so I think that has kind of led me to just be even more present with the people I love when I'm with the people I love, and just be like, we're laughing and I'm just like, oh, this makes me so happy.
Oh, I love it.
So it's that as well.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Maddie, this has been amazing.
It has.
Thank you so much for your vulnerability and your practical girl boss advice.
Thank you.
And just, your willingness to share the journey of your 20s as you're still on it. And I think the beauty is I can imagine us watching this back in like 10 years. Being like, oh, like little babies.
Yeah,
like little 24-year-old babies. Yeah. And if you guys have been listening to the podcast for a while, you would know that we have this tradition at the end of every episode where I ask you to share your casual magic of this week. So just a little moment that was casually magic, and I'll also share mine, and then we'll get one of the lovely listeners to also share their casual magic. And if you guys are interested in being featured, you can send in a voice note to the Instagram page. So Maddie, what was something casually magic in this week?
So this week, I actually got to see my boyfriend at work for the first time. He brought me to the office. We sometimes go for lunch, and this time he did actually get to bring me into the building. And I saw him at his place of work for the first time, which for some reason just like gave me like casual magic. Like I was like, this is crazy. Like I've never seen you at your workplace before. You seem so happy here, and I know you're really happy here. And I never see you in like another place than just at home. Like I see you if we have lunch together, but it's just like, I was just so happy, like seeing him at a place that he loves and seeing the views from the building and like getting to see him in his like natural habitat. There he works. And, I know he gets to see me sometimes in my natural habitat of like doing, filmmaking and all that as well. But it just brought me so much joy in such a funny way. And I just felt this like overwhelming like happiness for being there and getting like having him take me there and having me see, his office and just like what he does, which is so like basic and mundane, but it also made me so happy and so like appreciative.
I love that, because it kind of enriches your imagination of their day-to-day, right? Like,
exactly.
Now when you send him off to work, you're like, I can imagine that place. Like I know where you are. All these hours.
And it was just like a little like, hey, do you want to come to my office and like meet me for lunch?
And then it ended up being this like pivotal, like, oh my god, so big.
This is so funny.
I love it's like here. Bring your girlfriend to work day.
Yeah, literally, that's what I felt like.
Oh, I love that though. Yeah. I think for me, 2 days ago, I was just so emotional. I was feeling really fragile. Like I just moved into my new flat. Like I'm trying to make friends. I was just like sitting alone in this room with no furniture, and it's like, I'm near my period. It's just like classic. It's a luteal phase. It's luteal phase. And I think sometimes I have a tendency when I feel really fragile to talk myself into a positive state and be like, everything will be fine, Jade, and just like sort it out. Very like eldest daughter, I will support myself. But I actually was just like, no, I'm going to sit and cry for a second. And I put on like a sad song. I put on, I think it's Older by Lizzie McAlpine. And I was like, wow, I'm getting older. like look at me adulting. And I just really let myself feel it. And after I did that, everything just felt lighter again. And I think sometimes you have to lean in to the feeling in order for it to just pass. And then you're like, okay, no, I'm good again. Yeah, I think there's like a kind of like a magic that comes from actually experiencing the emotion that your body wants you to experience.
Yeah, definitely.
And now we're going to listen to a casual magic from one of you guys.
Hi! So I'm Ebba and I'm from Sweden, but now I'm in Florence in Italy. I'm currently traveling through Europe, and my casual magic, I think, was today. So many, grandiose things happen to me right now. But today I went to this bookstore here that has like a bookstore on the bottom floor, and then on the top floor it's a cinema. And I went with a friend I just met today in the hostel. And the beautiful thing was we sat down in the cinema and then they started showing Finding Nemo. And it was so magical to see like everybody slowly put down their phones and the books they were reading, and like everybody, 60-year-olds, like 20-year-olds, like children, we were all just sitting there for an hour watching Finding Nemo in Italian, and it was just so beautiful and everybody was just very present. Yeah, I loved it. It was really sweet.
Okay, and the final ritual that we have on every episode is I invite you guys to reflect on your past week and kind of journal on some questions and use that to set an intention for your coming week. And your intention can be a word or a phrase or something that you just want to carry into your next week. So if you want to grab a journal or grab your notes app or just answer these questions in your head, I hope this gives you a moment to reflect. Ask yourself, what went well this week? What are you proud of? Are there any little wins you can celebrate? And secondly, what is something that maybe challenged you this week or something that you would change coming into the next week? And then based on this, what is an intention that you would set for your coming week? It can be one word, a phrase, or a theme. Maddie, reflecting on your current week, what kind of intention do you want to bring into next week?
I think for me, there may be two things. Number one would just be to take things a little bit slower. I feel like the past week has just gone by in like a rush. So also traveling, and I came back and I had so much work today. I was just like, have to get through everything and not think about it and just do. And I never felt like I got a break. And I just want to take this next week to just like, where I have a little bit less work, just be completely fine with doing things at a slower pace and just taking my time and actually enjoying the things that I do and just doing that. And the second thing would be just like to get comfortable going back into my routine and actually like, I love to work out at least like twice a week because it makes me feel so happy and good about myself and it gives me energy. And I haven't worked out in the past 2 weeks because I've just been so busy doing ding, 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 doing work. And
tick.
Exactly, ticking boxes basically. So I want to get back into that and just prioritize my health for the next week because I feel like I want to. And I know my body wants to as well. And I know it makes me so happy when I do it. So yeah.
Oh, I love that. Mine is kind of, it's very specific actually. So I've just moved to Brighton and the last few days have just felt very hectic in terms of, unpacking boxes and thinking about the sofa to get for my living room and, oh my God, making sure I have a desk so that I can do all the work that I need to do. And it's just felt very, very practical. And I think I haven't taken the time to be slow with this new place I'm in and to almost find the casual magic in where I am because I've just been focused on the to-do list. And so I want to go swimming in the sea.
Nice.
Like at least 2 mornings next week.
Yeah.
I want to wake up early before work.
Nice.
I want to head down and I want to just
sunrise swim.
Exactly, a sunrise swim. And I think that will really just ground me in this new place that I'm in with nature and just start my day in like a really intentional manner.
Nice. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. Come along.
I will. Maybe not for sunrise though. It might be a bit early.
Yeah. Thing is, I know that you would do it.
Yeah. Have you seen my sunrise swims? It's great. I love sunrise swims.
Maddie's like waking up at 5 a.m. to go to the flower market and get the best flowers.
You know it.
Yeah.
Waking up at 3 a.m. to go swimming with Jade.
I can see that video.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Okay, wow. Thank you so much, Maddie. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. And if you made it to this point in the episode, that is just amazing. Like, you've literally come on this whole world, this whole conversation with us. And as always, if no one has told you today, I just want to remind you that you are enough exactly as you are, no matter where you are in your 20s or your 30s or 40s or 50s or wherever you are in your life. Please just remember that you're enough. You can have all these grand goals and visions to plan for, but there's also so much value in exactly where you are right now in your journey. So I'm sending you so much love and
Stay tuned and stay magical.